Hello everyone, welcome to the class. In our last class, we discussed with the last colligative property, that is osmotic pressure, and the types of solutions based on osmotic pressure as isotonic solutions, hypertonic solutions, and hypotonic solution. And we have seen one more concept, it is reverse osmosis and its application. Now we'll move with the last concept of the unit, so which is abnormal molar masses, and with the correction factor Van 't Hoff factor we'll observe the colligative properties molar mass find. Now our last concept, it is abnormal molar mass. Now, as the name indicates, abnormal molar mass refers to the normal molar mass is not maintained in the solution. So it's not for all the solutes. The solutes which undergoes association or dissociation in the solution, for such kind of solute, the normal molar mass is not maintained. Hence, abnormal molar masses of the solute in the solution so will be due to either if solute undergoes dissociation in the solution, or if the solute undergoes association in the solution. Either if the solute undergoes dissociation in the solution, or if the solute undergoes association in the solution, we can expect the abnormal molar masses seen in the solution. If the solute does not undergo any dissociation or association, for example, glucose or urea, such non-electrolytes, so their normal molar mass is expected, so in the solution also. Now we'll see with the example, so how dissociation is leading to abnormal molar mass and how association of the solute is leading to abnormal molar mass. So we'll take with a simple example. So for dissociation of the solute, we'll take the example of NaCl, sodium chloride. Now, if you take 1 mole of NaCl and if you add into a suitable solvent, for example water, 1 mole of NaCl will produces 1 mole of sodium ions and 1 mole of chloride ions. That means the electrolyte is giving 2 dissociated ions in the solution. Hence, this will be before adding into the solvent, and this will be after adding into the solvent. Now, before it is 1 mole, after adding it is 1 mole plus 1 mole, which is 2 mole. So as we know, colligative properties are those which depends only on the number of moles of solute particles, but not on the nature. So due to the dissociation, so its number of particles is becoming double for NaCl. So similarly, any other example can be considered to understand dissociation, how it is related for abnormal molar mass for the solute in solution. Similarly, we'll take a simple example for a solute undergoing association. It is acetic acid. Now, acetic acid will undergo dimerization in the solution. That is, 2 moles of acetic acid will undergo association in the form of a dimer to become a 1 particle in the solution. So that is, if you take 2 moles of acetic acid, CH3COOH, if you add into the solution, the 2 moles due to the formation of a dimer will become 1 mole of particle. Now the association of the solute is making 2 moles of the acetic acid to become 1 mole of associated particles in the solution. So that we can observe with a simple diagram, that is structure of acetic acid. You can observe here is CH3 C double bond O OH. Hydroxyl group attached to the carbonyl group with R group as CH3 is a formula of acetic acid. Similarly, we'll consider another acetic acid molecule, CH3COH double bond O. Now we know that the hydrogen here in the hydroxyl group is bonded to second highest electronegative element, oxygen, so which can form hydrogen bond with the carbonyl oxygen. Similarly, this hydrogen will form the hydrogen bond with the oxygen of this. As a result, the two intermolecular hydrogen bonds formed, intermolecular hydrogen bonds, which are formed between the two acetic acid molecule, is making the molecule to undergo a dimer. So now dimerization is an example of association of the particles in the solution. I hope the concept is clear. So either the dissociation of the solute or association of the solute. So any of the case is responsible, the main responsible factor for observing the abnormal molar masses in the solution. Now, by knowing the Van 't Hoff factor as a correction term, how we can relate to the colligative properties calculation, we'll observe. So we'll try to observe with what is Van 't Hoff factor exactly, and how the Van 't Hoff factor is helpful in relating for the calculation as a correction term. Van 't Hoff factor. Try to observe carefully, which is very important topic for the competitive exam. Van 't Hoff factor and the related calculations. So Van 't Hoff factor can be defined in many ways. We'll see the three important ways of defining the Van 't Hoff factor. Van 't Hoff factor for a solute in a solution can be defined as its normal molar mass to the abnormal molar mass in the solution. Van 't Hoff factor we are defining for the solute in the solution, hence the normal molar mass of the solute in the solution divided by abnormal molar mass of the solute in the solution. Or if we relate with the colligative property, Van 't Hoff factor can be defined as observed colligative property divided by calculated colligative property. Observed colligative property divided by calculated colligative property. It can also be defined in one more way, so which is more helpful in the calculation of I. It is number of particles exactly in terms of moles. Number of moles of particles after dissociation or association divided by number of moles of particles before dissociation or association. Hope it is clear. It's the number of moles of particles after dissociation or association to the number of moles of particles before dissociation or association. So this will be the definition of Van 't Hoff factor. Anyone can be used, but the calculation of I is more helpful. So by remembering the last one, so A by B you can remember, A for after, B for before the dissociation or association to the dissociation or association related to before the respective process. Right, you can observe clearly. So Van 't Hoff factor is the ratio of normal molar mass to the abnormal molar mass, or observed colligative property to the calculated colligative property, or number of moles of the particles, it is after dissociation or association, to number of moles of particles before dissociation or association. Hope how I value, that is the Van 't Hoff factor value, can be calculated is clear with these formulas. Now we'll learn the significance of this Van 't Hoff factor. So what is the value of I signifies about the solute nature in the solution? significance of the Van 't Hoff factor. Now we can see the I value in these three possibilities. I is equal to 1 for a solute in solution, or I may be greater than 1, or I Van 't Hoff factor may be lesser than 1. So with a suitable examples, we'll discuss all these three significance information about the solute nature in the solution. Now if I value is 1, so signifies what we'll try to learn. So with a simple example, we'll take urea or glucose. So both are non-electrolytes. That means they do not undergo any dissociation or association in the solution, which will be the significance of I value if it is equal to 1. So that we'll try to understand. So with its simple nature. Now 1 mole of glucose if you take, or urea if you take, 1 mole of glucose or urea if you take, and if you add into a suitable solvent like water to prepare the solution, so this will be before adding into the solvent, and this is after adding into the solvent to form a solution. As it is a non-electrolyte, so it is not undergoing any dissociation or association, and after adding into the solution, its number of particle is 1 mole. Before it is again 1 mole. Then by using the definition, I is equal to after adding into the solution, before adding into the solution, it is 1 by 1, which is equal to 1. So this signifies about the solute as solute does not undergo either dissociation or association. It's a simple concept. If I value is 1 for any solute, it signifies that the solute will not undergo any dissociation or association in the solution. So it does not undergo any dissociation or association. Now we'll learn with one more example. So for signifying the value of I greater than 1. So here we'll take the example of any electrolytes. I will take NaCl, what we discussed earlier. So if I add NaCl in a suitable solvent, 1 mole of NaCl before adding into a suitable solvent. If I add 1 mole of NaCl into a suitable solvent such as water, will give 1 mole of Na plus ion plus 1 mole of Cl minus ion. 1 mole of NaCl gives 1 mole of Na plus ion, 1 mole of Cl minus ion. So that will be after adding into a solvent. Now, Van 't Hoff factor is calculated as number of particles after adding in the solution and before adding. So after adding, the dissociation of the particle as ions is giving 2 moles, 1 plus 1, and before it is 1 mole, hence Van 't Hoff factor value I is equal to 2 in this case of NaCl. So this signifies that I is greater than 1. So that means the solute undergoes dissociation in solution. Irrespective of any type of solute, if its value is greater than 1, then it signifies that the solute is undergoing dissociation in the solution. Only dissociated solutes in the solvent will have I value, Van 't Hoff factor value, which is greater than 1. Now we'll observe the last one. So if the I value is coming lesser than 1, what it signifies? We'll take the example of acetic acid, again what we discussed earlier. Now if you take 2 moles of acetic acid And if you add in a suitable solvent, we know that acetic acid undergoes dimerization. As a result of dimerization, the 2 moles is becoming 1 mole. 2 moles of acetic acid as a dimer is obtained as 1 mole in the solution. So that will be arced. Now, if we calculate I in this case, number of particles after adding in the solvent, that is in preparing solution, so will be, so it is 1 mole, and before it is 2 moles, hence the value 0.5 shows it is lesser than 1, so which signifies the solute is undergoing association in the solution. I think it is clear now. If the I value is equal to 1, the solute is not undergoing any dissociation or association. If I is greater than 1, the solute is undergoing dissociation. If I is lesser than 1, the solute is undergoing association. So remember the significance very clearly. So I is equal to 1 indicates it is a non-electrolyte, so which does not undergo dissociation or association. I is greater than 1 or lesser than 1. So greater than 1 signifies dissociation of solute, lesser than 1 indicates association of solute in the solution. So this is the main significance conclusion of the Van 't Hoff factor for a solute in solution. Hope these three significances are clear now. Now we'll try to consider the Van 't Hoff factor correction. So for the colligative properties. So before doing that, so we'll take few strong electrolytes, how the I value can be calculated, which is very much important for 1 mark question in the unit. 3 different examples we'll try to take, 3 or 4. You can try with a number of examples from the textbook and the question bank what you have. So we'll take few simple examples to consider in the class. The first one, so whatever it is taken now, NaCl. So NaCl, before adding it is 1 mole, after adding will produces 1 mole of Na plus ion and 1 mole of Cl minus ion. Hence, so this is before and this is after. Before it is 1, after adding it is 1 plus 1 giving 2 moles. The Van 't Hoff factor I will be equal to A by B after dissociation 2, before dissociation 1. Hence, the value is 2. Van 't Hoff factor for NaCl is given as 2. We'll take second example. If we take potassium sulfate, K2SO4, dissociate them into respective ions. As we know, sulfate is a simple ion, potassium is a simple ion. The dissociation of this will give 2 moles of potassium ion plus 1 mole of sulfate ion. 2 moles of potassium, 1 mole of sulfate. Before addition, it is 1 mole. Hence, before 1, after addition, it is 2 plus 1, that is 3. Hence, the Van 't Hoff factor is given as A by B. It is 3 by 1, which is equal to 3. The Van 't Hoff factor for potassium sulfate is 3. If we take one more example, aluminium sulfate, Al2SO4 thrice. Again, it will dissociate as aluminium ions and sulfate ions. So it is 1 mole of aluminium sulfate if you take in the solution will give 2 moles of aluminium ion Al plus 3 and 3 moles of sulfate ion. So concentrate on their dissociated number of moles, not on their charge. Concentrate on dissociated number of moles of ions from the electrolyte. Now before adding 1 mole of aluminium sulfate, after in the solution producing 2 moles aluminum ions, 3 moles sulfate ions. Together it is 5 moles. Hence, if you calculate Van't factor now, I is equal to A by B after adding in the solution 5 moles of ion before adding 1 mole of compound. So hence the Van't factor I is 5. So similarly, any coordination compounds, complex compounds can also be taken. So what are complex compounds and all? So in detail, we learn with the coordination compounds. So we'll take one simple example, K4FeCN6, potassium hexacyanoferrite. Now, so complex ions will have, that is the square bracket ಅಲ್ಲಿ whatever we have represented. So ಈ square bracket ಅಲ್ಲಿ represent ಮಾಡಿರೋದನ್ನ complex ion ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. Now, whatever it is represented in square bracket now, it is a complex ion which never dissociate in the solution. So will remain as complex ion. So and this counter ion, so whatever we have, so will dissociate, and this complex ion as a whole, it will be one component. Now 1 mole of potassium hexacyanoferrate I will add into the solution now. So upon addition, 4 moles of simple ion as a counter ion potassium ion is dissociated, and 1 mole of the complex ion, it is FeCN6. The charge, it is plus 4 means here it is minus 4 to make the ionic charges as same. It is neutralization of ionic charges. Now the number of moles after dissociation is 4 moles of potassium, 1 mole of complex ion, hence it is 5 moles. Before addition, it is 1 mole of a coordination compound. Hence the Van't factor for the compound in solution, A by B. After dissociation 5, before dissociation 1, hence the I value is 5. So this is how for any solute in the solution we can able to calculate the Van't factors. Try with more examples. Any doubts or any complications, so we'll try to take them in the next classes. Now, so with the significance of I, so we'll give this as a correction term in the calculation of colligative properties. It is Van't factor and colligative properties. So recall all the 4 now. The first one, which is RLVP, relative lowering of vapor pressure, that is P naught minus P by P naught is equal to N2 by N1. So by introducing the correction factor Van't factor I, so it is used for the calculation. The only difference what you are observing in these formulas is that, so I is multiplied on right hand side in the equations. Similarly, so if we take elevation of boiling point, delta TB is equal to KB into M. So you take the Van't factor I on the right hand side part. So you substitute the molar, that is molality expansion definition, number of moles expansion definition to calculate in detail. So I'm just specifying the main colligative property equation with the correction term Van't factor. Then the third one, depression of freezing point, delta TF is equal to Van't factor I KF M. And the last one, osmotic pressure, pi is equal to CRT with the Van't factor pi is equal to ICRT. All these 4 equations with Van't factor are more important topics for the competitive exam. So I value signifies delta TB, delta TF information, as well as, so I value with the boiling point of solution and freezing point of solution will be frequently asked. That we'll try to consider in our question answer discussion classes. So with this, so it gives the information of colligative property equation, so with the Van't factor as a correction term. You can observe, so the equations are same, but on the right hand side part, so Van't factor is added, that is multiplied to give the correction value. So this completes almost all the information. So there is one small extension concept. So that is with Van 't Hoff factor. So that we'll try to learn. So it is degree of dissociation and association. The final conclusion from the Van 't Hoff factor. Degree of dissociation represented by alpha. Similarly, degree of association is also represented by alpha, but the rearranged equation calculation will be different. So one will take now degree of dissociation, how exactly to calculate. So now we'll take some n number of moles of A, that is 1 mole of electrolyte now. So that 1 mole of electrolyte will give n number of moles of dissociated ions in the solution. Now this is before adding in the solution. This is after adding in the solution. N represent number of moles which dissociated in the solution. Some n number of moles of B is obtained, that is in the form of different types of ions there, whatever is the respective ions. We'll concentrate only on the number, because as we know, colligative properties depends only on the number of moles of solute particles. Now assume we are taking 1 mole of A in the solute, that is A solute, and before mixing them in the solvent, the number of moles of the dissociated ions are 0. It is at initial condition before adding the solute in the solvent. Now we'll assume, let alpha be the degree of dissociation of the solute. Let alpha be the number of particles as degree of dissociation is undergoing. So dissociation in the solution now. So 1 is the initial number of moles. At alpha moles of from 1 is undergoing dissociation. So some 30%, 40%, 50%, like that. Whatever the percentage of dissociation is there, so that will take it as alpha. Now some n alpha moles of B is formed now. That is, the dissociated ions are going to form now. For alpha dissociated A, n alpha will be the dissociated ions formed in the solutions. Now once if the dissociation is completed, so we'll consider what is the number of moles available. Now solute will be 1 minus alpha. Initially 1 is there. From that, alpha moles gets dissociated. Hence it is 1 minus alpha. Then, so n alpha indicates that, so it is number of moles of dissociated ions from the solute. So we'll take that as n alpha. Initially it is 0, but after whatever it is formed, it is plus, that is to the products it is going to increase. Now under this condition, we'll relate total number of moles. Now, total number of moles will be 1 minus alpha plus n alpha, all available. So simple rearrangement, 1 plus n alpha minus alpha. Now take alpha as a common factor, 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. Now this is the total number of particles available after dissociation is considered. Once the solute undergoes dissociation, the number of particles obtained after dissociation is 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. So hope this information is clear. Consider some electrolyte which undergoes dissociation, that as A is giving respective number of ions. Some n moles of ions will take. So we'll take only the number of moles of solute as dissociated ions now. Initially 1 mole of A is there. There is no dissociation of solute in the solution because it is not added into the solvent. After adding, we'll assume some alpha degree is the dissociation of the 1 mole of solute. So n alpha is the number of moles of dissociated ions. Now the total number of moles to observe, initially it is 1, alpha gets dissociated, and Hence, for solute, it is 1 minus alpha. Dissociated ions, it is n alpha. Now, total it will be 1 minus alpha plus n alpha. So, with a simple arrangement, it is given as 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. Now, you recall with Van 't Hoff factor I, number of particles after dissociation divided by number of particles before dissociation. After dissociation, it is 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. So, before it is 1. Hence, I is equal to 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. Or you can rearrange this equation to get the degree of dissociation. So, degree of dissociation alpha can be given as, so you rearrange this. So, alpha is equal to alpha into n minus 1, take you consider now. So, it will be I minus 1 divided by n minus 1. Hence, alpha is equal to I minus 1 divided by n minus 1 is a formula which is used to calculate the degree of dissociation, where alpha represents degree of dissociation, n represent number of particles which undergoes dissociation, that is dissociated number of particles. I is the Van 't Hoff factor. I is the Van 't Hoff factor. So similarly, degree of association can also be calculated. So observe once very clearly. So with this simple rearrangement, either you can relate I is equal to this formula you remember, or with the final rearrangement you remember. So alpha is equal to I minus 1 divided by n minus 1. So similarly, degree of association is also calculated in a similar way. So we'll remember with the final equation form. If degree of association is considered, so alpha is calculated for degree of association as I minus 1 divided by 1 minus 1 by n. Like in the previous case, so if we calculate by assuming the conditions, initial condition, changed conditions, and at equilibrium related information, so we are going to get alpha as degree of association as I minus 1 divided by 1 minus 1 by n. So here I is Van 't Hoff factor, n is number of dissociated particle. Here n represent number of particles gets associated. For example, if you take acetic acid, 2 moles of acetic acid undergoes association to form in the solution. Hence, n value for acetic acid will be 2. N value for NaCl, number of dissociated ions, that is Na plus and Cl minus. Again, here n value is 2. So, observe dissociated ions for n in this case. Take number of particles associating in this case. So, these are the very important formulas for competitive exams. So try to remember this. The NCERT text, they have not given this, but they have mentioned an in-text problem, so related to this type of calculation. So observe the formulas and note it down very clearly. So with this, maximum theoretical concepts available in the unit we completed. So from the beginning of the unit, so for next class what you can do is that, so list all the formulas. So from the beginning of unit, so starting from the expressing concentration terms, so list all expanded terms and remember it. So with that, we are going to start with numerical problems in our next class. Hope the class is clear. So try to revise the concepts clearly and note all the formulas. So we'll continue in our next class.